Is Giyu gonna give up on being a Slayer? And why is Shinobu preparing for her death? Wait, what's happening? Well, in this video, we'll give the answers to both these and a lot of other questions, as well as discuss thrilling Easter eggs. So stay with us and watch the video till the end. However, before we begin, let's take a quick snippet of where the story left us off in Season 3. Gyoko, the Upper Moon 5, gets roasted and beheaded by Muichiro, taking a double burn. While Hantengu gets his ass clapped by Muichiro, Tanjiro, Genya, Mitsuri, and then Tanjiro once again. Woo! That's a quintuple burn! And following that, Nezuko gets immunity from the sun, which has now made her the primary target of Muzan. But that's not our main agenda today, as we've got to spill some secrets from the vase of Season 4, so consider this a spoiler warning. Following the events of the Swordsmith Village, it takes about 2 days for the Hashiras to recover, and as soon as they do, a Hashira meeting is called in. Once again, all Hashiras gather except for our beloved Rengoku and Tengen, who are of course dead and detached now. In any case, the meeting turns seemingly strange as it's revealed that it wouldn't be headed by Kaguya, but his hot AF wife Amane, as his disease has progressed deep into his body, making him immobile. Dude, God really did a number with him by giving him a wife that fine and immobilizing disease. Anyway, Amane then jumps off the Sabi details and reveals that both Muichiro and Mitsuri developed the Demon Slayer marks during their battles, which gave them a boost. However, the most shocking twist strikes the conversation when Amane reveals that a Demon Slayer mark originates in one swordsman and then it kind of passes on to other swordsmen like an infection, which happened for the first time in the Sengoku period about 500 years ago. With Yoruichi being the catalyst of the mark in the Sengoku era, it was actually Tanjiro who developed the mark first in his battle against Gyutaro in this era. This revelation shocks everyone, and they start inquiring about Mitsuri and how she got it. And well, let's say she gives quite an embarrassing reply.
Hell no, man. What the fuck, man?
Much like Tanjiro. However, Muichiro explains in further detail that he experienced his heart rate going above 200 BPM and his temperature reaching about 102 degrees when the mark appeared. Thus, the meeting is disbanded, with the two terms taken as prerequisites for attaining the mark and a Hashira training being initiated for all low-level slayers and the Hashiras as well. However, just as the meeting concludes, Giyu agitatedly tries to leave first. Sanemi and Obanai try to get Giyu to stay and discuss further. However, the salty Hashira, the water Hashira, begins to make his dramatic exit, claiming that he isn't like the rest of them, which pushes Sanemi over the brink of anger. Sanemi rushes to jump Giyu like a rag doll, but Guillaume claps Sanemi's cheeks, his hands, and puts a stop to this brawl, letting Giyu do as he pleases. But by now, you might have formed a negative opinion on Giyu because he's triggering Sanemi like a left-wing protester for no apparent reason. However, that's not the case, which is evident from what's revealed in the upcoming chapters. Soon, an injured Tanjiro receives a letter from none other than the Blind Bandit, aka Kaguya himself, urging the young Slayer to talk to Giyu and sort out his personal problems so that he too can join the training with the other Hashiras. And Tanjiro, being the gullible puppy dog he is, accepts the proposals and runs steadfastly to Giyu's place. Giyu ignores Tanjiro's repeated knocks on the door, thinking he'd go away. However, Tanjiro just waltzes in and takes a seat inches away from Giyu, making him more than uncomfortable. But before Tanjiro could start emotionally blackmailing Giyu, the emo Hashira turned the tables and started guilt-tripping Tanjiro for leaving the water-breathing techniques, and due to him, the seat of the water Hashira would now remain empty. This really confuses Tanjiro, as he asks that the water pillar's seat belongs to him. However, Giyu just leaves without giving an explanation. But we know that Tanjiro can make even Kanao bend, if you know what I mean. So why not the alleged water pillar? Thus, Tanjiro follows Giyu for days as he finally gives up and decides to be open with his feelings. Giyu reveals that when he was young, just a day before his sister's wedding, a demon attacked them, and she sacrificed her life to protect him. However, no one believed him, and he was about to be sent to his relative. But he escaped and found Urokodaki and a boy his age named Sabito with him. They trained together and entered the final selection, where Sabito saved every single contestant and killed the most demons. However, his sword snapped right at the neck of the hand demon. Giyu woke up 7 days after the final selection, only to find his best friend murdered and no one to look up to. Now that's a heck of a sad story, but it's actually the reason behind his nature today. Giyu explains that since then, he doesn't consider himself a Hashira, as that seat rightfully belongs to Sabito. Tanjiro, upon hearing this, realizes that Sabito was the same boy who helped him on Mount Sagiri. But that's really sus, because how high was Tanjiro when he couldn't realize he was fighting a ghost? Anyways, Tanjiro gives the example of Rengoku and explains that they shouldn't be depressed for their friend's death, but instead they should do their level best to support the cause so the deaths of their peers aren't in vain. This flips a switch in Gyu's mind as he realizes the intent behind his sister and Sabito's sacrifices and that he's wasting the opportunity that they gave him. With tears in his eyes, Gyu replies that he's ready to join the Hashira training. Well, wasn't that heart-touching? Everyone joining hands and rising above their collective shitty pasts. But not all Hashiras are training to make themselves physically stronger, as one of the Hashiras has other plans on how to deal with the upper moons. And that Hashira is not other than Shinobu Kocho. Shinobu realizes that her body isn't strong enough to handle what's coming. And don't take it the wrong way, if Shinobu were actually that strong, she'd be using a normal blade to cut off demons' heads. And last I checked, she still used the stabbing blade and wisteria poison. Shinobu meets up with Kanao, and here it's revealed that their elder sister, whom we saw back in Season 1, was actually killed by none other than the upper moon to Doma, and that Shinobu plans to specifically corner and kill him. Shinobu is a tough nut for sure, but the workings of her plan won't be revealed this season. However, what would be revealed, more like revisited, would be two old characters from Season 1, Lady Tamayo and Yushiro. With the help of the Kasugai Crows, Kaguya is finally going to contact Tamayo after 500 years of her existence and ask her for help in their mutual goal of destroying Muzan. Now, all of these things have been going on simultaneously, with Tanjiro confronting Gyu, Shinobu's change of path, and Lady Tamayo's involvement. But we shouldn't really let go of our protagonist here and follow through with Tanjiro's training as well. After a few days, Tanjiro was fully healed, and he steps into the training that's being held by 5 Hashiras and 1 former Hashira, namely Tengen, Muichiro, Mitsuri, Obanai, Sanami, and finally Gyome, with each commanding a different practice. Tanjiro breezes through most of the Hashira's training with ease, because why not? My guy cut the upper moon 4 in half. However, he does run into trouble at Sanami's training, but not because of what you think. Let me explain. Genya and Zenitsu have finally reached Sanami's training camp. However, Genya tries to strike up a conversation with Sanami and apologizes. But in a turn of events, Sanami lets forego of all brotherly love and instructs Genya to get lost as he's a failure and can't even use breathing techniques. Dude, talk about being harsh! Anyway, while Tanjiro is eavesdropping on this conversation, Genya mentions that he's been resorting to eating demons to gain power, which triggers Sanami immensely and throws him into a fit of rage. He dashes towards Genya to blind him with his fingers. However, Tanjiro saves him, which ends up in him fighting Sanami and forfeiting the training with the Wind Pillar. Well, is a heartfelt reunion too much to ask for? Right, this isn't an isekai anime. It's just plain old traumatic Demon Slayer. Anyway, Tanjiro, Zenitsu, and Genya move on to Gyome's training and meet Inosuke and Murata, the strongest side characters who have survived everything up until now. As all the Slayers give up, Tanjiro and Inosuke complete the hellish training without Zenitsu, but there's a reason behind it, and we'll get back to it later. They have a long chat, wherein finally, after 130 long chapters, Gyome reveals his much-awaited backstory. Gyome reminisces about his time at a temple, when he stayed with a few children who assisted him due to his blindness, which was caused sometime in his childhood. The temple they stayed in had demon-infested forest all around. But Gyome used a wisteria incense at night to keep the demons at bay. Gyome always instructed the children not to go out at night. However, one of the children named Kaigaku neglected his instructions and tried to sneak away at night to steal. But luck was not on his side, and he ran into a demon. However, he cracked a deal with the demon and allowed him entry into the temple by putting out the incense to eat the other children and spare him. What followed was a massacre, which only came to an end when Gyome raised his fist for the first time in his life. However, his strength was so overwhelming that he continued to punch the demon to a pulp till morning. When the people came in during daybreak, all they could see was blood around Gyome's hands and a lot of dead bodies. And the last remaining child ended up lying, stating that Gyome was a monster, which got Gyome convicted of crimes he didn't commit. He was sentenced to death. However, Kaguya saved the blind priest from execution. Oof, that was a lot. But wait, we can't stop here. Remember how I told you that Zenitsu didn't finish Gyome's training? Well, it was actually due to a letter from his former masters stating that his senior during training had betrayed the Demon Slayer Corps by turning towards the demons and becoming one of them. This forced Zenitsu's master, Jigoro, into a spiral of shame, and he ended up killing himself by committing seppuku. Now here comes the troubling part of the story. Remember the kid named Kaigaku who betrayed Gyome and let the children get eaten by a demon? He was the same senior who trained with Zenitsu and now became a demon. Now, I can't tell you much about what comes next in the manga, but Kaigaku probably has some major ass handling coming towards his way. Now, while all of this goes on, a catastrophic event takes place at Kaguya's hidden residence. Out of nowhere, Muzan enters Kaguya's premises and confronts him after both he and the Yubuyashiki family struggle for the past 1,000 years. Now, if you want us to elaborate on this obnoxiously cool occurrence, get us to 10K likes and we'll roll out the next video soon. Until then, see ya!